Hello, hello, dear viewers, friends, and all that. This is TBT, and welcome to ARK Creature Feature. Today's episode is going to deal with a dinosaur that I've kind of already covered in my old Idiot's Guides for ARK Survival Evolved, and that is the Ceratosaurus, which is a modded creature from ARK Additions, or I believe it is now called Additions Ascended? Something like that? In any event, now wait a minute, Teebs. Didn't you, like you just said, didn't you already do a guide for that? Yes, I did, but A, that was ARK Survival Evolved and not Ascended. B, this is a different format that I wanted to cover, and I'll be covering a lot of the same things, and there'll be a link to the original Idiot's Guides video, either in the description or at the end of this video. But I'll probably be redoing these for all the creatures that I covered in the Idiot's Guide as creature features. Just wanted to clear that up, and that's why this video exists. But for like the other concepts like mutations and whatnot, that'll still use Idiot's Guides formats, but that too will be redone for ARK Survival Ascended at a later date. Anyway, for those of you that are new to this series, this is where I'll be covering the creature's stats, abilities, where to find and how to tame, and ways you can use them to improve your experience in ARK Survival Ascended. I'll also be talking about my opinions on ARK's take of this creature and give it a final score based on all these categories from 1 to 10. By the way, since there is an Idiot's Guide version of this video, for this creature, do me a favor and let me know which format you prefer for creatures in the comments. I'm always looking for ways to learn and improve and innovate. I'm not always great at it, but I'll try. Remember, by the way, that this Cerato is not the historical fossilized one in real life. This is a species created and modeled after it. At best, it would be an artificial evolution it was an artificial genetically modified subspecies sort of thing, or an evolution of it. If you know ARK lore, you understand immediately what the implications of that are, and if you don't, then play the game and find out. But yeah, comparing the two, apart from in-game abilities that might represent something that the real-life creature had, doesn't make any sense, so we're not going to be comparing sizes and things like that. Now, before we get any further, if you enjoy this content, go ahead and give this video a like, be sure to comment, and stomp that subscribe button so that the algorithm gods are pleased, and spread this video across the platform. It helps out a lot, and I greatly appreciate all that support. Alrighty, now that we've taken care of that, let's dive in. Alright, this is going to be a quick one. And the reason why is that since Ceratosaurus is a modded creature, I couldn't find its base stats on the internet, and I was too lazy / honorable to spawn in a level 1 creature. I very easily could. And if I do get the energy to do that, I am also dealing with a pretty bad headache at the moment. But I'm trying. You know, if I do get up the energy to do that, I will put a note right around here that lists those stats. And then in future iterations where we're dealing with modded creatures, I will spawn one in on camera at level 1 so we can see it with the spyglass and whatnot. So yeah, just unfortunately don't have it at this moment, but that's neither here nor there. And since I don't have the wild stats, I don't have the tame ones either. But what you need to know as far as statistics are concerned is that this is a mid-game creature, quote-unquote. And it's packing some serious heat. I can tell you that its stats are quite good for such a creature. It hits pretty hard, it's got a decent amount of health, it's pretty fast. Yeah, what more could you ask for? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot, and it's got an answer to all of it. So let's get on to the abilities. Oh, good lord above, this thing does indeed have a lot of abilities. Like I said, I couldn't find the base damage on its attacks, but we can talk about how they work while we watch me using them to kill things. So sit down, strap in, and get ready. The strap in, not strap on, never mind. Anyway, it's got the classic left-click bite attack. What else is new? This is ARK. Well, actually a little bit, because the Cerato can turn to bite opponents, and that's how you're moving your mouse or your controller, like the analog stick, will determine that. So it might take a bit of getting used to, But it is a very handy trait that it can turn to the side and bite things that are coming at it, when most creatures only bite in front of them in vanilla. And it's a very handy trait, and I wish more creatures had that. And it does decent damage. Now, the right click is the spine attack, and the way this works is you have a horn thrust and a tail spin. When you attack opponents at your side or behind, you use the tail spin. And this attack is how you apply the Venom debuff. We'll get to that. The Cerato also has a running bar at the bottom of the screen that shows your current speed that your Cerato is running at. You know how it's exactly like the Rhino, the woolly Rhino. You have to build up your speed. So you have to get to top speed. So you get incredibly fast, but you become more difficult to control. When you get to 75% top speed, you'll be able to destroy rocks and boulders and all that while you're running. You just will destroy everything. Now at 15% top speed, the Cerato will, when you try to stop, the Cerato will slide. The higher speed you are going, the longer you're going to slide. And holy crap, momentum actually matters for once in ARK. Imagine that. If you hold right click while above 75% speed or right click from a slide after reaching that, you're going to perform a much more powerful horn thrust attack, and take it from me, this attack hurts. It does a lot of damage and theoretically should be ragdolling people like either Red Dead or Skyrim when you get hit by a giant. Anyway, this thing has the ability to inflict a special venom that coats their spines, which is why the tail spine attack and the horn attack inflict it. And it causes a victim's blood to become, according to this description, especially nutritious, and it causes it to bleed out rapidly, such that it will heal nearby carnivores. So this amount is directly dependent on a couple of things. The number of hits that the creature you're attacking is receiving, and the length of time that the buff is active. Attacking the creature with more spine attacks will keep extending that buff. And you're going to need more than one Cerato to keep it up for a long period of time. Alright. Ugh, that was a lot. And I don't blame you if you need to go back and rewatch that. And rewatch that entire section. Do it a few times, do whatever you got to do to get the information. It's a lot that this thing has. Some of it's connected to other things, and it's important. But what you need to know in summation is that this thing, in addition to being a pretty decent creature just by itself, also functions as something of a healer for nearby carnivores. But the point is, this creature is comparable to most vanilla creatures that were released late in ARK Survival Evolved, like later releases that had more abilities. That's kind of what this thing has going for it. Anyway, moving on. Now, the mod page on Steam for ARK Survival Evolved, which is ARK Additions, states that these things spawn in jungles primarily, so any jungle biome on the island is likely a place where they can appear. It's that simple. I couldn't find a spawn map, so feel free to use your own map in-game where you know jungles are. But it's worth noting that these things do roam a lot, and I'm fairly sure they'll spawn on the edges of jungles, so you'll often find them in the general vicinity of a jungle, but in a different biome altogether. And early game, these things can be very scary when that happens, when they start patrolling beaches and rivers, because they're quick, and there's usually more than one. I can tell you there's been more than one occasion in my adventures where I've had the classic oh shit moment when I heard that distinctive roar and saw nearby foliage start moving rapidly. Like, go back and watch some of my ARK Ascended Let's Plays. Oh boy. It's the big scary. So now that we know where to find these, let's go over how to tame them. Oh boy, this is not a standard tame at all, and to do it you need to be level 75 to unlock the hemoglobin cocktail. And much like your average cocktail from your favorite bar, this is some serious stuff. And it requires the venomous spines from the Cerato's back, which can be found by killing wild ones. They drop off of it. Sometimes it will appear in your inventory, sometimes it'll be in a baggie, so if you don't get it in your inventory or in your creature's inventory, look around on the ground for a little baggie. It also needs your blood just for some extra zest. You mix them together and create this pinkish substance, which you can then use to give your creatures the cocktail debuff. Don't use it right now. I'd make around 4 to 10 of them if you can. They are expensive, but having extras never hurts, especially when you're trying to get a higher level Cerato. Once you've made them, head on out and locate your high level Cerato, but be sure to bring at least one very tanky creature with you with a decent saddle. I would recommend a Stego or something like that with some good damage resistance that has a lot of health that can just take a beating. I used a Stego, and though he survived, he was a hurting boy because he had a less than stellar saddle. He would have been fine if he had a high tier one. Also worth noting that the addition of babies means that if you wanted to, you could ignore the cocktail altogether and just kill an adult and tame the babies that are around it. But that won't always be an option. You won't always have the level that you want from a baby. Also, if you do imprint on that baby, you might have a harder time keeping a record of which stats get passed on. So just bear that in mind. It's not a big deal, but it does exist. You may or may not want to exploit it. In my case, I did both because I ran into a mother with 2 babies. Now, when you found a high-level Cerato of your choice, clear out any distracting creatures in the area. Do not do what I did and let the turtle live long enough to be a big pain in the ass later. And then you're going to go ahead, once the area is clear enough, go ahead and feed your creature the hemoglobin cocktail while riding it. At this point, the nearby Cerato should aggro if it hasn't already and come right at you. It'll be drawn directly to you. Your creature will have a pink aura around them, like you can see here. Just sit tight and let the Cerato nibble your creature's giblets. Keep in mind its health if you need to. If you've got veggie cakes, use them. They might help you heal up a little bit. You'll see a blood drunk percent building over time over the Cerato as it nibbles at you. Some people say it's best to try to cage the Cerato, and you certainly can do that if you want to. And it'll take a nice 3x3 with a 1 to 2 doorway high wall and a ramp. But in my experience, the cage just kind of gets in the way. It just made it harder. I've not had good luck with it, but if you use it and you like it, feel free to do that. Whatever works. That being said, in any case, all you have to do is let it eat your creature or bite at it until it gets 100% blood drunk. Then you should be able to dismount. You'll see the Cerato kind of lurch forward. It'll walk much more slowly. It'll have an aura around it, like you can see. I'll be sure to check that your mount is both alive and on passive. Very important. But now you should be able to feed the Cerato. You should be able to passive tame feed the Cerato. And it will take superior kibble or higher, raw mutton, or raw prime meat. Depending on what type of food you're using, you may need to repeat getting it blood drunk 2 to 3 times. It also depends on your taming settings. And that's why you bring the extra cocktails and possibly extra creatures. You may need them. Otherwise, you end up in a really annoying spot. But yes, say everything goes well and you manage to tame this thing. Congratulations. Go ahead and slap a saddle on it, which unlocks at level 75 and can be crafted directly in the player's inventory. Then, get ready to have yourself a grand old time. So, what do you do with the Cerato once you have it? Well, as with most good creatures, you're probably going to want to breed and mutate it, and I'll do an idiot's guide video to that and all creatures. Don't worry about it. Just know that the Cerato is a smallish but powerful enough creature that it has about as many uses as the average multi-tool. It'll guard your base, it'll do reasonably well at meat runs, it can be used in some caves, I'd guess. You may have to use cryopods if you have them modded in, but I can only imagine how good this thing in PvP is in PvP where the Ascended Additions mod is allowed. I don't play a lot of ARK PvP, so I wouldn't really know. But the other thing to note is that it can function as a healer thanks to its ability to make blood more nutritious with its venom, and thus heal nearby carnivores. Very good, very important. but it also makes this thing a very effective boss army. So use this thing against bosses. I haven't been able to do that in ARK Ascended since I haven't been able to fight any bosses yet, but I'm told it shreds. So we'll get there when we get there. Just stay tuned for that. It's coming sooner than you think. But it's got decent damage, high health, and or decent enough health, and with a good saddle, it'll actually live long enough to pull out a W against most threats if you've got an army with you. Yes, these are very good creatures, make no mistake about it. Maybe a little too good. Though I think they are at least balanced for ARK. There are definitely some creatures that are not. The mod dev definitely put in the work to make this thing fantastic and not too difficult to get one. Oh, since they can destroy things when running past 75%, you could definitely use that to clear some space in front of you if you needed to for building purposes. It wouldn't be very practical, but it would be fun. This thing does the jobs that it does very well, and it looks cool while doing so. I'm not normally a big fan of all those spikes, but on this they kind of work. Kind of gives me like the whole 1993 Godzilla vibe, like the American Godzilla vibe. And while that doesn't really work as a Godzilla, it certainly works on this thing with those spikes. Overall, I think it's got great colors, it's got a great look, it's got that iconic 3 horns of the Ceratosaurus, everything you need. It really does look, and it even has the 4th finger, which is another trait that the real-life Ceratosaurus had that distinguishes it from other more derived theropods. Like I said, both aesthetically and mechanically, it's fantastic. There really isn't anything I would do to make this thing better than it already is. It's got everything it needs. For that reason, I can safely say that this thing earns a solid 10 crazy horn attacks out of 10. Alrighty, I think that covers everything. I hope you liked this video and found it helpful, and if you did, go ahead and stomp that like button, comment, subscribe, and please the algorithm gods to spread this video around the platform. It really does help me out, and I greatly appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. Anyway, this has been TBT. I'm signing off, and I'll catch y'all on the next ARK Creature feature.